one friend with you on this journey of self-improvement can completely turn your life around. The more the better, of course, but what I'm saying is that the difference between 0 and 1 is much greater than 1 to, let's say, 5 even. I personally have one friend with me on this journey, and I'll tell you what that's like. Before we get started with that, just a couple of things. Number one, stop viewing competition as a bad thing. Till about 1 year ago, I myself had completely bought into this narrative of, oh, I don't compare myself to others. I'm only in competition with myself. Till 1 year ago, even the concept of competition was foreign to me. Some of my very good friends would score at the top of the class, and it wouldn't affect me, not in the slightest. My best friend from college, he would have a new girl every 2 weeks. I could care less about that. I had a friend who had started to get a good amount of returns just from his investments. He'd started to earn a good amount of money while being a classmate of mine, and I was unfazed by it. It didn't bother me, it didn't affect me in the least. Fucking hell, dude, I wish I had compared myself to these people. I wish I had looked at these people and thought, why the fuck am I not getting any of these things? Competition is one of the strongest tools in your arsenal. Don't waste it away. We inherently compare ourselves to those around us in every aspect. Now, that could be your biggest strength or your biggest weakness, depending upon the kind of friends you have, depending upon the kind of company you keep around yourself. I'll give you my example from the 11th and 12th grade. So, me and this one friend of mine, we studied the least in the entire class by like a big margin. Even during the half yearlies, even during our finals, we'd go home from school, spend a few hours wasting time on whatever, on watching something, playing something. A few hours later, we would call each other up, talk for another half an hour to an hour, talk about what games we were playing, what movie we were watching, what show we were watching. And before ending the call, every single time, one of us would go, you're not planning on study, you're not going to study for the exam, are you? And upon receiving that confirmation, we would, a very reassuring confirmation, we would go about wasting the entire rest of the day too, completely relaxed with no stress, no tension, because we knew that no matter what, at least the other one wasn't studying either. Sounds so weird, doesn't it? Like, what difference would it make to me if out of the 40 people in our class, just this one other guy wasn't studying? What difference would it make to me if out of 40 people in our class, just this one other guy scored as bad as me? Like, how can that possibly make me feel better? How can that make me not feel bad about not studying and therefore knowing that I'm going to end up scoring terribly on the exam tomorrow? How can just knowing that this one other guy is not studying, how can that make me feel comfortable with all of this? But that's how it was. Sometimes he would tell me at school itself, he would say, bro, my mom's taking my phone and my laptop today. I'm going to have no option but to study. Those days, I would study too. We did not care what the entire rest of the class was doing. We did not care what the remaining 38 did. We did not care how much work they were putting in, how much they were studying, how many hours they were just sitting and grinding. As long as he wasn't studying, I had absolutely no problem not studying either. You want to hear something funny? It's that very friend who's with me on this journey now. We lost touch for a few years there when we both went off to our separate colleges, but we reconnected about a year ago. I introduced him to self-improvement. I told him about how I had never felt as good in my entire life, how I felt like I had evolved into a completely different person since I had started on this journey. And within a few days of us talking, he took the plunge too. For both of us, every single one of our friends was either getting high or getting drunk or doing both every single day, every single night. They were still they were still continuing with the lifestyle that we had all indulged in our college days, but they felt comfortable continuing with that. And amidst talking to those very friends regularly, amidst hearing, bro, I got so high last night. Every single time we talked to them, the two of us started to chart a different course for ourselves. Initially, it was a little difficult, but over time, we stopped caring what the rest were doing. I would call him up and tell him what I had been up to, which would pump him the fuck up, and he would go and have an amazing day, which he would tell me about, and that in turn would pump me up even more. That in turn would motivate me even more, and even I would go and have a brilliant day. This is how we've progressed for months now. I understand why you might see this as a bad thing, why you might see it as a negative thing. The first time I started to feel competitive, I realized it and I felt horrible. I felt that I thought that there was something wrong with me. All of my life, I had never even experienced the feeling of being competitive. I would see my own friends achieve things, get things that I would have really wanted to, and for some reason that would do absolutely nothing for me. I've realized now that a big reason for that probably was that somewhere inside, deep inside, I didn't think that I deserved those things. So I would think he's gotten this thing because he deserves to. I am not, because I don't deserve to. So I'm not gonna let that bring me down. But the second I started to really believe that I deserved to succeed, the second I started to think, if he deserves it, why don't I? That is when I started to feel competitive for the first time in my life. I experienced this feeling for the first time with this very friend that I've been talking to you about. We had been doing this thing of telling each other of the good things we were doing and pumping each other up, mutually helping each other grow for a few months by the time I realized what was happening. And I remember feeling that I love what we're doing, I love this thing that we have going on, but for some reason it felt a little negative to me. For some reason I felt bad about doing this thing. I couldn't quite put my hands on what exactly it was about this that was making me feel negative about it, that was making me not like doing this. And I still remember the day it clicked for me, the moment it clicked for me. He called me this one time, all excited to tell me about this event that he'd been to. He told me that he could clearly firsthand see all of those months of working on his social skills paying off. He told me that he was the center of attraction in the room, that everyone was coming up and talking to him. He told me that some even complimented him on his social skills, said that he was damn natural, that he that he had a very attractive personality, that he was very charismatic. I, of course, congratulated him, told him how happy, how proud I felt. And we talked for a good another 20 minutes, after which I went and had an insane bout of deep work. I had closed my work for the day before he called, but I was so pumped after this call, I couldn't not go and put in some work. I had one of my most productive bouts of deep work that evening. That too at a time that I had never worked at before. After I was done with all of this, I sat down and thought about it for a while. I realized that when he told me about his success, the first thought in my mind, and I'm gonna be completely fucking honest with you, the first thought in my mind was, I've been slacking for a bit. I need to get back on top of my shit. And the second thought I had was, I feel so proud, so happy for him. I genuinely felt disgusted with myself for that. I thought, my best friend called me up all excited to tell me some good news, to tell me about how good he did. And the first thought I had was about myself. The first thought I had was in some way about competing with him. What the fuck is wrong with me? I genuinely sat there and asked myself this question. Am I, in this pursuit of success, am I turning into a bad person? In this pursuit of success, am I starting to lose value for my friendships, for my relationships with people? I didn't have an answer to this for days. About a week in, it finally clicked for me. I asked myself, why am I feeling bad about this right now? Would it make me feel happy if he told me that when I told him about my successes, when I told him how good I was doing, if he just felt happy and proud for me and it didn't do anything for him, if me telling him about my successes didn't make him at least want to work harder, would I like to hear that? Would that make me happy? Absolutely not. So why should I do any different? Why would he want any different from me? Wouldn't he want me to do better? Wouldn't he want me to keep making progress? I know I probably sound like an asshole right now, but I'm not saying that I don't want my friend to succeed. What I'm saying is there anyone who's going to say that he wants his friend to be more successful than him? No matter how close they are. I absolutely love this guy. He's the closest friend I've ever had. We push each other to be better, we challenge each other, we understand each other better than anyone else. But does that change the answer to that question? No. And I won't expect any different from him either. I won't want him to wish for my success more than for his. This does not have to be a negative thing. It's basic human nature, man. It's how we are. In fact, it's how we're supposed to be. It's your responsibility to look after yourself first and foremost. Only once you've helped yourself, only once you've done something for yourself, only once you've improved your life to some extent, to some level, can you even begin to help other people. So it is your responsibility. It's not just your right, it's your responsibility to look after yourself first and foremost. Honestly, man, it was only once I accepted it, only once I 100% accepted it, and once it was out in the open, that of course I care for myself at least a little bit more. I'm supposed to care for myself at least a little bit more than I care for anyone else in the world. So, and he is supposed to do the same. I wouldn't expect any different from him either. In fact, it would be really messed up. There would have to be something wrong with anyone who doesn't feel this way, right? It's human nature, man. It's fucked up to say it's a bad trait. We could get into all of that, but isn't it obvious? Doesn't everyone operate exactly like that? So wouldn't we all be better off if we just accepted this fact and then moved on from it? So there would be no negativity associated with it. Of course, you want to do as good as you possibly can. Of course, I want to do as good as I possibly can. Let's accept that and mutually help each other do better. And here comes the good part. With that given, I want myself to succeed more than I want anyone else to succeed. Okay, with that given, who do I want the most to succeed after that? My friend. Why? Because number one, he's my friend, man. Of course, I want to see him succeed. Number two, I have seen him put in the work. I have seen him grind. I've seen him sacrifice. In my eyes, there is nobody else who deserves success as much as he does. So, of course, I pray for his success. Of course, I wish for him to succeed. Finally, and this is just the icing on the cake, seeing him put in the work to deserve the success and then seeing him get the success, what is going to be more motivating than that? Seeing that is going to pump you up even more, which is going to make you put in even more work and get even more success, which then again is going to pump him up, going to make him put in more work, get him more success, and then you do the same. Just like back in school, we did not give a fuck what anyone else was doing, dude. As long as I knew that he was passing his time too, as long as I knew that he wasn't getting shit done, I could do the same with absolutely no guilt. Just like that, today we do not give a fuck what anyone else is doing. As long as I know that that man is out there putting in the work, I know that I've got to show up too. I know that I've got to put in at least the same amount of work. I can't think of a more beautiful, a more wholesome, a more fulfilling relationship to have with somebody. I guess that's the takeaway. Find yourself a friend to join you on this journey, and you'll automatically 10x your growth. As always, I wish you all the best with everything, and I'll see you in the next one.